Hi everyone, it's me Darlene. It is time to make another quilt block. The thing is, we have already made this quilt block, but when I made it before, I wasn't doing the wall, the quilt wall at the end of my videos, so I want to do this block again so I can do that. And the other thing that we're doing differently is that before we ended up with 4 half square triangle blocks. This time we're going to end up with 8. Because when you make half square triangles the way that I make them, the way that most people make them now, you end up with 4 blocks, 2 match, and the other 2 match. If you make 8 blocks, then you have 4 of each that match, and you can just do so many more things on your quilt board to see how your quilt can come out. First, we're going to be making a strip set, and since our strip set needs to be longer this time, I had to pull out actual yardage, and I'm just going to show you how you can quickly and easily cut strips so you're not just doing individual pieces. I was very limited as to what I had clean and washed out of my old fabric stash. I'm using this blue that came from my aunt's stash, this blue, this green with cows that came from my stash, and this under the sea print that came from my stash. I somehow think this is going to work. At the very least, it should kind of pop. I'd like it to show up good on the screen at the end when I make the quilts for you, the digital quilts. We're going to be cutting 2.5-inch strips. Now obviously, if you want to go get yourself some jelly rolls, you can use the strips in those because those are 2.5 inches. But I'm just showing you that when you buy your yardage, you know, you're just going to have it come like this. The 2 selvages are matching, and you just fold it in half. And I just put it on any line so that I'm not like at the edge of my board. 1, 2.5. And I'm just going to cut straight across. There we go. I have 1 strip. We need 4 strips to make the block. Now obviously, if you were making an entire quilt and you knew about how many strips you needed, you would just continue now and cut another strip and another strip. If your rotary cutter is very sharp, you could even put fabrics on top of this, like you could be cutting 2 prints at once. I'm good with 1 print at a time. But we have the strip that we need, so let's just move on. And I'm going to cut a 2.5-inch strip here. I'm just going to finish up cutting my strips and I'll be right back. I have my 4 strips cut. It seems like the ones that you put on the outer edges seem to be dominant, but I don't know. I don't know yet. When I get to the quilting board and do the digital stuff, I might find that it works different ways. Very curious to see how many different combinations I can come up with. But I think I'm going with this, the dark green. I would have kind of liked the dark on each end, but then I got, you know, just kind of blasé here, so I just don't know. So I think I'm going to go this way. Kind of light, dark, light, dark. And we're just going to sew these strips together. Just going to put right sides together and sew a 1/4-inch seam, and then open that and do the next one and the next one. Then I will press, and I will press like all the seams going in the same direction. When you have strips, they're not going to all come out the same length. This one must have been 60 inches wide because it is very long. So I'm just going to make sure they sort of match up at one end. If you are sewing a lot of strips together, you want to alternate. You want to sew this way, then this way, then this way. If you don't, the fabric ends up stretching if you sew always in the same direction, and it makes the fabric bow. But we're talking about 4 strips here, so not a big deal. You can just sew all in the same direction and just keep one end as even as possible. It's going to still be trimmed, but you just want to make sure that you're not wasting fabric. I have my strips sewn together. Is this the order that I even had it in? Something is telling me that I switched things. It's very easy to get confused, especially for me because I don't follow rules, so I don't always pay attention. I'm just a let's wing it kind of girl. But anyway, I can't remember what I showed you, and I haven't edited yet, so I don't know. Let's just trim one end here. Now you want to measure how tall your strip set came out. It might not be the same as mine because You might have a more generous 1/4 of an inch or a less generous. Mine is like a little less than 8.5. Okay, I don't like this. We have a little border piece here that doesn't match up with the rest of the strip, so I'm going to cut beyond that. Didn't notice that at first. See, there's a border on this Debbie Mum fabric right here. I'm not throwing that away. You know I'm not. I know I can trim this way to at least 8.25, so I'm going to cut my blocks 8.25. So let's go. And we need 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.25. Then I'm going to cut 3 more like this. And I'm left with this, which again I am saving, but I will cut this long tail off. And I still keep it, but I'm just detaching it. So this is my scrap. And now I have 4 matching blocks. Now since my blocks are a little bit uneven this way, I know I have 8.25 this way because I just cut those. I'm going to go ahead and trim them this way also to make them 8.25 inches square. Now is where we start to create the magic. Take one of your squares and have the strips going this way. Take another square and have the strips going up and down. And put them right sides together. So you can see opposite directions. These are going this way, these are going this way. We're going to go and sew all the way around the entire block with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I do want to point out that we have a choice to make here. I sewed these 2 together. Now, if you're making wacky and you don't care, you can do it any way you want, but I am going to try to do certain designs. So I want to make sure that I do this block the same way that I did this block. So I see that when I had them going this way, I had the green at the top. So I'm going to do the same here, put the green at the top, and then going up and down, I happen to have the green to the left. So I'm going to do the same. I might have done it vice versa before, but I want to match what I have here. And this matches. Green, 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 green. So you can see I have 2 identical block sandwiches, we will call them. And now we're just going to cut each block on the diagonal. So I'm just going to do that. Am I even under the camera? I am. I'm so good at this. Put those aside. I'm going to press these open. And it worked. We have 4 identical blocks like this and 4 identical blocks like this. When we had the blocks sewn together, just the one sandwich, and we cut that one on the diagonal, you would end up with 4 half-square triangles. You'd have 2 that match like this and 2 that match like this. But by us making 2 of the sandwiches and ending up with 8 pieces, you end up getting 4 of each. And this is just going to give us tremendous design possibilities to the point where I will for sure have to limit myself. So let's just do a couple right here. First, let's do the matchy-matchy. Let's see, we could go like this and like this, and you'll see that we have the diamond showing. Before, when we didn't have matchy-matchy, we had this going on. It's still a diamond, but it's not the matching fabrics. So let's remove these now, and we'll get the diamond out of these. So we have that. But that's just the beginning. We can do so much. We can put these in the center and do this. We can swap out. And let's see, do this. We can turn just some and do this. I mean, there's just going to be so much that we can do. So I will go to my design board and I will get busy. It's how I plan on spending my evening. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming quilt blocks, and I will be back with more soon. Bye!